iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. All right, the NFL draft come and gone. So quick. Lasted 3 days, but it seems quick. But you know what it tells me? It tells me that football, it's May 1st in football, about a couple of months away. June 1st, July 1st, we know July 1st. Little OTAs, then August, little preseason. We're getting closer, my friends. So I want to review some of the draft picks, some of the guys that I think could be impact players in fantasy football this year. Maybe you have a dynasty draft coming up. Maybe you want to join a dynasty league. Maybe you want to be the king of dynasty football. Check out ScoutFantasy.com and get into one of our dynasty leagues. We'll be very happy to have you there. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. All right, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals. The only guy that I'm looking here for fantasy purposes, I mean, if you're in an IDP league, Hassan Reddick, I think is interesting. TJ Logan, I'm not against it. I like where he's going there. I mean, I think he's going to be more of an impact player on special teams, but, you know, maybe a third running back, we'll have to see. For Atlanta, there's Brian Hill. I don't see much fantasy value in him. I do see it into Karis McKinley. Once again, if you're in IDP leagues, I think McKinley and Reddick, both two guys who could give you some sacks, which would be very helpful. For the Baltimore Ravens, really, they didn't go anywhere on offense. They just spent time on defense, getting Bowser and Humphrey, two guys that they absolutely needed, and they took them. For the Buffalo Bills, I think we're going to see the first guy for fantasy purposes that can help us, Zay Jones. Zay Jones was a very productive player in college, and he's going to a team right now whose coach, the wide receivers coach, was his position coach in college, so they know him. And it was interesting. Jason Braddock this morning on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio said something like, the minute they drafted Zay Jones, they said about Sammy Watkins, we're not so sure we're going to bring him back for the fifth year. I don't agree with that, but I do agree that Zay Jones is going to have some fantasy value as soon as this year. So watch him. Carolina Panthers, two guys I really like this year for fantasy. I love Christian McCaffrey. I just think he is the perfect guy. I hope he doesn't return a punt or a kick. I pray that he doesn't. But man, he can run the ball. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And I really think he could be a running back one in fantasy. I do, especially in a PPR format. Curtis Samuel's another guy who I think will be productive. Remember, Ted Ginn went to the Saints, which means that that spot is open, and I think Curtis Samuel fits that spot beautifully for them. Okay? For the Bears, Mitch Trubisky is a year away. Adam Shaheen is a year away. But I want to bring something up here. Okay? From what we understand is that John Fox did not know what was happening here. When your head coach doesn't know what the general manager is doing, it's a problem. These guys should be talking about it together. When Fox doesn't know that they're trading up to get Trubisky, it's a major problem. And it tells me that John Fox probably won't be there the year after this one. Okay? Cincinnati, fantasy-wise, I think there's two names you absolutely have to know. The first name is Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon and John Ross are going to work together in conjunction to make the Bengals a better team. Here's why. John Ross runs a 4.2 240. You set this guy running straight, fly pattern. It's going to open up the field for A.J. Green. When a team has to cover Ross or the safety, and they've got to cover Green, there's no way they're putting 8 guys in the box, so Joe Mixon's going to see some huge running lanes. I really like what the Bengals are doing here offensively. If they can't get it done with these guys, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. But I think they added two of the great fantasy guys in dynasty leagues in Ross and especially in Joe Mixon. Really a big fan. The Browns, David Njoku, I know they cut Gary Barnidge, which makes no sense to me. I do like Njoku, but I think it's going to take him a year. It's going to take him a year. I don't know how productive he's going to be year one. Deshaun Kaiser, I think you're going to see Cody Kessler this year. I really do. I don't think you see Kaiser. I think you see Kessler. Kaiser, maybe in a year we can worry about it, but not before. Dallas, some people are talking about Ryan Switzer. I don't see it for dynasty purposes. I'm going to stay away. I won't stay away from the Broncos. The three guys. One, Carlos Henderson from Louisiana Tech. He's a player. He's going to be the third receiver on this team beside Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. I think Henderson is the third. Jake Butt. Jake Butt is a very good tight end who, because he was injured, dropped at least, I'd say, 3 rounds. You're in a dynasty league. You shove Jake Butt on your roster. I have no problem with that. And lastly, Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly is a pretty darn good player from Ole Miss. Now, he's a little cray-cray, okay? He's a knucklehead sandwich. But I think Jim Kelly's his uncle, and he's got some skills. And if the Broncos are not thrilled with Paxton Lynch, if he doesn't work out, and Trevor Siemian can't get it done, don't be shocked to see Chad Kelly get a look in a year or two. Just throwing it out there in a dynasty league. Okay? Don't really like much for the Lions. Don't tell me Brad Kaya. I don't think he's anything more than a backup pick to Matthew Stafford. The Green Bay Packers, I have a little like for Jamal Williams. I know Jason Braddock really likes him. If Jason likes him, then I'll take a look at him as a second running back after Ty Montgomery. For the Houston Texans, 2 guys. One, Donta Foreman. I think Lamar Miller may even lose his job to Foreman by week 8. I like Foreman a lot. Deshaun Watson. What is he going to do? Is he going to start, or are we going to see Tom Savage? I'm not sure who we're going to see. I think the chance is there for Watson to start, but Bill O'Brien won't rush him. So it might be Savage for week 1 or week 2, and then we see Watson in week 3 or 4. That's quite possible there. Indianapolis, take a look at Marlon Mack. I like him, but I don't love him. I think he's somebody to put on your radar in dynasty leagues. I mean, certainly somebody to stash and cash there. All right, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Leonard Fournette. I mean, it begins and ends with Leonard Fournette. So I think the question about Leonard Fournette is this. Can he catch the ball out of the backfield? He can run. He's strong, he's fast, and he can run. But can he catch? Because if he can, he's got Ezekiel Elliott upside. If he can't, well, then he's only a first and second down guy, and now you're bringing in TJ Yeldon or Chris Ivory. Blah. So Leonard Fournette can be anywhere from a top 5 back to a top 15 back. We're just going to have to read our reports out of Jacksonville and see how good he looks, how fluid he looks out of the backfield. Keep your eye on D.D. Westbrook. I think he's interesting as a slot receiver. Just put him on your radar screen. Hearns, Westbrook, Robinson. All right, for Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes. We know that he's their quarterback of the future, but the future may take a couple of years. Kareem Hunt, a guy who could play right now. Right now. Kareem Hunt from Toledo, right now. Okay? So I think you've got Charkandrick West, you got Spencer Ware. Put Kareem Hunt right in that mix. For the Los Angeles Chargers, Mike Williams. I'm a big fan of Mike Williams. I'm not sure if he's going to get it done this year. Really like him in 2018. I like him this year. I love him moving forward. Really do. The Rams have a very interesting draft. So I'm going to give you 3 guys who I think are all very interesting guys to watch. One is Gerald Everett. Jason Braddock is loving this guy as a pure, high-value target that is somebody that Jared Goff will like throwing to. The question is, he's still learning the game. He's still learning the game. But there's some potential there. I love Cooper Kupp. I love him. I do. I just look at him as he's going to get open in zones. He's going to get open. Eastern Washington, they threw the ball all the time. Look, there's a value on Wes Welker and Cole Beasley types. And I think Cooper Kupp is that type, a guy. I really like him in a PPR league. A lot of guys are talking about Josh Reynolds. I'm not sure I see it, but I could be wrong. He's very fast. Wasn't as productive as I would have wanted to see in Texas A&M, but he'll make the team. Miami didn't do anything offensively. I don't like Isaiah Ford. Don't waste your dynasty pick on him. The Minnesota Vikings, Dalvin Cook. You know what my love for Dalvin Cook. Love him. And I think you're talking about a guy who Jamal Charles Light is fair. It's fair. Lat Murray is good, but he runs a little upright, and he's a big, strong guy, but he's not elusive. Dalvin Cook is elusive. Dalvin Cook is a special kind of running back. Big fan. Big fan of Dalvin Cook. All right, New England didn't do anything of note, but you have to look at it. They got Brandon Cooks, right? So that certainly helped them. For the Saints, I like Alvin Kamara, but it's hard to like him when you got Mark Ingram and Adrian Peterson there. So he's a third running back for now. So stash for a couple of years, but nothing more than that. The Jets, I like Ardarius Stewart a lot. I do. I think he's going to turn out to be a second or third receiver there. Not a big fan of Chad Hansen. Not a big fan, but maybe he could be a third or fourth guy there. I don't like Jordan Leggett. I think he takes too many plays off, and that's a problem. But look, the Jets need him more than anybody. Let's not forget the New York Football Giants. Evan Engram, I think, opens the field for Odell Beckham Jr. I like Davis Webb a little bit. I think he could be a quarterback of the future. Wayne Gallman is somebody who's a hard-nosed runner. And I think he's better than Orleans Darkwa. And I think you could pair him with Paul Perkins, and you could be okay. I think we could live with that. Okay? Oakland Raiders, nobody of note that I really see here. Elijah Hood is the only guy, but I'm not really interested in him. The Philadelphia Eagles, they're talking about Donnell Pumphrey. I see them, this is more of a defensive draft than offense. For the Steelers, I do like Juju Smith-Schuster. I do. I like him a lot. I like James Conner a lot. I think both these guys, Conner could certainly be the backup to Le'Veon Bell. I think Schuster easily could be the third receiver there, assuming Martavius Bryant is back. I don't like Sammy Coates. Sammy Coates cannot catch a football. You can't catch, you can't play. It's as simple as that. Seattle doesn't really get anybody that I'm loving. San Francisco, I don't like C.J. Beathard at all. I do like Trent Taylor a lot. That's a name to file away. He could be a nice little slot receiver there. O.J. Howard is the guy now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like him. I like Chris Godwin as a third or fourth receiver. Getting back to O.J. Howard, they have Cameron Brate. I think it takes him a year to evolve. I like Chris Godwin a lot as a third receiver. And, I think he's a good player. I like Jeremy McNichols, the running back. This is a guy who could be a third down back for this team. They've been searching for a guy. Yeah, Doug Martin always looks good, but what about Charles Sims? I think Jeremy McNichols played for a pretty good team there at Boise State. I think they're going to be very happy with him. Tennessee Titans get Corey Davis. Love me some Corey Davis. Really think he's a very good, smart player there. They got this guy, Tywan Taylor, who I like as well. Put up big numbers against them. I think Tywan Taylor, is a guy who could be the third receiver right now. Comes out of Western Kentucky. He had over 1,700 yards as a senior. And then they got this guy, Jonnu Smith, who it's going to take him some time to be a good tight end there. But they got Delanie Walker, and I think he gives them depth. Right? He gives them depth behind Delanie Walker. Lastly, the Redskins, Samaje Perine. I love this guy. I think he went to the perfect team. Matt Jones' pig, but Perine is a big, strong runner. He can block, big upper body strength. This is a guy who can move the field, who can move the pack, who's a short yardage guy. I think he ended up in the perfect situation, so I like him for dynasty purposes as well. Now, here's the thing. I like guys today. Guys tomorrow change. Undrafted free agents come in, and you this is just a snapshot. I've given you a 15-minute snapshot of guys who I like, guys who have upside. But you want to stick with Scout Fantasy. You want to stick with our insiders, guys who follow the team. I'll tell you this straight up. This is a true story. So there was a guy named Nick Athen who worked with Scout Fantasy last year. He was the Chiefs insider. And he had mentioned about a player named Tyreek Hill being the fastest guy in camp. And I'm like, who's Tyreek Hill? Never even heard of Tyreek Hill. But you know what? I followed the name. I said, Nick Athen said the name, and I followed the name down. And because of it, I drafted Tyreek Hill in both my dynasty leagues. How good was Tyreek Hill last year? And by the way, I had him in like 5 main event leagues until I dropped him in 2 leagues, which killed me. He single-handedly cost me $10,000, by the way, because I dropped him and Frankie Fantasy picked him up. And Frankie Fantasy ended up winning our league and had a really good team. But I'll tell you that right now. So people know what we're talking about here at Scout Fantasy. You want to read Scott Atkins' Dynasty rankings? Be a member of Scout Fantasy. You want to listen to what I have to say about football? And I know you do. You go to scoutfantasy.com, enter the promo code ROTO, R-O-T-O, pay for 1 month, we'll get you 2 more. It's as simple as that. All right, guys, but right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. We're back with this podcast tomorrow, talking baseball, talking football, talking whatever it is that's going to help you win your fantasy leagues, because that's what we want you to do, win your fantasy leagues. Can't believe the draft just happened. Hope you're excited for your team. I think a lot of teams made some really good picks this year, and we're just a couple months away from finding out how it's going to end up. All right, guys, have a great day. Be well. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!